Hello, my name is Lawrence Champong. Welcome to my short research presentation titled Finding Resolutions to High Unemployment Rate Among the Youth in Ghana, Sub-Saharan Africa. My professor's name is Dr. Jonathan Green. Hope you enjoy this presentation, so stick and stay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the rationale behind the whole research, which is the high youth unemployment. We're going to consider it holistically. Per the World Bank, 12% of the youth are unemployed and 50% are underemployed. So for a population of about 30.8 million people, that's quite alarming. So we can say it's a crisis, since the unemployment rate is in it's in 2 digits. It's quite alarming for a population of 30.8 million people. When we have 40,000 nurses graduated from nursing school, finished the training and everything, stayed in home for two years without any employment, that's quite alarming. So we can consider this a crisis. So the research questions that we'll be considering are: how should investment from both the government and the private sector be used to solve this crisis? And the second question is, how many youth would be employed through the use of investment by the government and the private sector? So we're trying to consider, how best can investment be used by the government and the private sector in order to be able to resolve this crisis, and how many youth will be employed by the use of these investments to create jobs in order to alleviate this crisis. Let's go back. Okay. So the next one is the topics that we're going to discuss. We're just going to talk about previous researches that have been done. So the IMF has conducted some research on this crisis. So we're going to look at that research, and then we're going to consider their research on the government's role in resolving the crisis. The theories I will be considering is the first one is a classical economic theory, which has to do with demand and supply of labor. So when there's a high demand, definitely there's going to be high supply. So when there's more demand for an increased workforce, the country already has more than enough. 18 to 36 age group of the population are much higher than the rest of the population. So if you have this age group of people not well employed, then there's a problem. The second theory is the innovation theory, which has to do with if there's a lot of innovation, more businesses expanding due to innovation, or more businesses being created, then it's going to absorb a lot of unemployed youth. So the methodology is going to be the quantitative survey, due to the large sample that is going to be considered in the population. We're going to use that, and also going to use it inferential as well, which is going to help us fall back on the previous researches that have already been conducted by these research institutes in mainly the business and economic sector, because data is already available, so we can fall back on those data to get a deeper understanding in the research that we're about to conduct, in order to be able to test these researches and then validate them with our own data collected. So by so doing, we're going to have the educated youth who are going to be the participants of this research, and therefore we're going to create our own data collection, which is going to help us better understand the crises firsthand and not just rely on IMF or the World Bank, even though they are very credible sources. So the research significance is just basically just doing this in order to find resolutions to this crisis. So both the several stakeholders, which are the unemployed youth, the government, the private sector, are all going to be beneficiaries of this research. The unemployed youth are going to find gainful employment. The government, through this, can make policies, through our recommendations, can make policies which is going to help them solve these unemployment crises. The employers will also be able to expand their businesses and then have the workforce that they need, because they are also going to have this data available. So the continuation of that is the same thing as in the unemployed youth are also going to gain employment, and then the government is also going to benefit through the formulation of policies aligning with our recommendations. Private sector is going to be booming because the employers will expand, which will absorb most of the unemployed youth. Well, that's the end of my short presentation. Hope you enjoyed it. Merry Christmas and have a wonderful New Year. Bye-bye.